What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Gonna talk about Mike Williams being put on the trade block, Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers reunite, and a prediction from Haason Reddick's agent. Let's start with Mike Williams. There were reports that the Jets are planning to make Mike Williams available for trade. After acquiring Davante Adams, Williams signed a one-year deal this offseason. The current wide receiver room is just too crowded. That's the wording that is being put out there. Unfortunately, it hasn't been a great start to the season for Mike Williams through the first 6 games. He was a part of essentially the game-ending play against the Vikings and against the Buffalo Bills in back-to-back weeks. I thought the one against the Vikings was just really a poor throw from Aaron Rodgers. Some, got on Mike Williams for maybe not coming back to the ball as strong as he maybe could have. But this one in particular against the Buffalo Bills is just extremely frustrating. We've heard, Emmanuel Ocho go over it, Dan Orlovsky, Aaron Rodgers explain it, and really it comes down to Mike Williams running the wrong route and falling down. And it's tough. And while I think that when both guys are at their peak, Mike Williams is better than Allen Lazard here, the issue is Mike Williams isn't at his peak, number one. And number two, as much as we get on Allen Lazard, and deservedly so, the drops are very much so a problem. He has that connection with Aaron Rodgers, and at times it's worked. Allen Lazard is the most frustrating player on the team because he makes these absolutely unbelievable plays and unbelievable catches because of that chemistry with Rodgers. And then he'll also just drop a ball that, on third down that'll pick up a first down. It makes you want to punch your lights out. It's awful. It's so frustrating, but it makes sense why the Jets would go that direction. And if you have to part with Mike Williams, a top 3 of Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, and Allen Lazard is significantly better than a top 3 of Mike Williams, Allen Lazard, and Garrett Wilson. So you do have to obviously add a subtraction here with Mike Williams, but I think it's worth it at the end of the day if it's going to mean Davante Adams coming in here and playing with the Jets. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Davante Adams made an appearance with Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show. Great picture, great moment of Davante and Aaron Rodgers back together. And maybe I'm a sucker. I definitely am a sucker with how much I've, supported and followed this team over the years. And I get it. I was and still am extremely frustrated over last night. I'm extremely frustrated with this team. They are finding new ways to lose each and every week. It's remarkable. The last 3 weeks, they have lost in excruciating fashion. The 10-9 loss to Denver, losing on the road in London to Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. And then, hey, the offense gets better this week, but it's still not enough because your veteran left tackle has a penalty down on the goal line. Your kicker, who was great for you last year, misses 2 field goals. It's just, again, they just can't get anything right, and they're dropping games left and right. I've said it on Twitter and in my video reaction to the trade of Davante Adams. No one can argue that this doesn't make the Jets better. I know we're going to hear about the offensive line and the pass rush, and yeah, there are still issues and things that the Jets need to work out and get better at, but the Jets are employing someone who has the league leading drop rate for a second year in a row as a starting wide receiver, and the other one, as I mentioned, ran the wrong route and fell down on the biggest play of the game. Davante Adams is still an elite level route runner. He has that connection with Aaron Rodgers, which is important, and I think this is a good thing for Garrett Wilson. I think this makes Garrett Wilson an even better player. I'm excited to watch Davante Adams, who is most likely going to play on Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers announced today that the rumblings out of Pittsburgh today, maybe is the better way to put it, that Justin Fields will not be starting this game. In fact, it'll be Russell Wilson instead. I actually think that bodes well for the Jets. We'll talk later about that in the week. But moral of the story, Davante Adams is here. He made his appearance with Rodgers and McAfee, and I'm ready to see that duo go to work. Last note, Drew Rosenhaus was on some program talking about his newest client in Haason Reddick. Now, there was news earlier today that the New York Jets gave Drew Rosenhaus and Haason Reddick the ability to seek trades, and it seems like there's a possibility that he could get moved. But Drew Rosenhaus did say that the goal is to work something out with the Jets. And I'm wondering what that would look like and what that would end up being if he does stick with the New York Jets, because I have two thoughts on this. One, if they were to trade him, they can't trade him to the NFC because there's a clause in the trade that if the Jets trade him to the NFC, that third automatically becomes a second round pick in 2026, which that's not very good. So that cuts it in half, I would think anyway. And then what are you going to get by someone in return for Haason Reddick? You traded a 2026 third. I don't think you're getting anything close to comparable at this point for a Haason Reddick trade. I know that this is going to bother some Jet fans because Jet fans are very emotional about this holdout and they don't like what Haason Reddick has done here. But I want to reiterate, I think it's, if the Jets are truly going for it to salvage their season at 2-4, which it looks like they're doing after the Davante Adams trade, then they should be trying to work it out with Haason Reddick, because the Jets have no pass rush outside of Will McDonald. Will McDonald's the only one getting pressure and getting home and getting sacks. I've beaten to death Michael Clemens starting on the other side of Will McDonald, but even with that, the interior isn't playing up to par. Quinnen Williams needs to be playing better. Javon Kinlaw had his worst game as a New York Jet and looked absolutely horrible. And they're not willing to rotate guys in like Brain McGregor or Eric Watts or even, Tack McKinley. And you have, unfortunately, Clemens playing over 50% of snaps, and it cost them. He gets absolutely nothing as a pass rusher, and then his strength is supposed to be against the run, and the biggest play of the game got faked out of his shorts because he over pursued, which has unfortunately been a very common theme with him. And that's part of the reason why the Jets are also struggling in the run game, is because they way over pursue, they don't manage their gaps, and then they don't tackle. And that's how you average, 7 yards rushing against you in a game for, the first half. And it's frustrating. It really is. And again, if the Jets want to be taken seriously as trying to get this thing back on track, you're going to need a pass rush to get home to win games. They didn't do that. Josh Allen had all day to throw. And he got on the move because no one could finish sacks, and big plays happened because of it. The big play, in the end zone that, resulted in a 40-plus yard reception to the running back. The play down on the goal line where he escapes and finds someone in the end zone on third down and goal. You got to be able to get home, and they miss having that guy. And it stinks that Jermaine Johnson's out. But even with Jermaine Johnson, they needed somebody else there, and they are clearly hurting at that spot. So again, I know that it's going to be some Jet fans who are just like, I didn't want nothing to do with this guy, and I understand that it's frustrating. It hasn't been a good situation with Haason Reddick, but the Jets could really use his services for the stretch run this year if they want to be a playoff team. Guys, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments on the biggest Jets storylines of the day. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.